On today's episode of Wellness on the Rocks, I sit down with an incredible guest to talk about authenticity and vulnerability as creators and storytellers within the hospitality industry. My guest is an award-winning chef, best-selling author, TV host, and the executive producer and host of the docuseries Taste of the Border and La Mesa, Mexa. Her career took off after winning season 6 of MasterChef, and over the past decade, she's continued to push herself creatively within our industry. Together, we talk about who we are behind the camera and behind the public persona. We get into why impact matters more than attention, and why choosing meaning over ego is essential in today's creative worlds. Welcome to Wellness on the Rocks, Chef Claudia Sandoval.
So how'd you figure out how to set all this up?
YouTube.
Really?
Yeah.
I love that.
Here, let me get you some water. But I feel like, back when you were coming up after, winning MasterChef and you were doing all your media stuff, like the way that media works over the last 10 years has drastically changed with social media and Instagram and podcasting. And I feel like the little guy now has the opportunity to compete on a global level with like the stuff that we put out.
Yeah. In all the ways. Yeah. Social, everything. From video, from TikTok. I mean, really, the digital world has completely expanded in such a way that now I think it's taking out all of the power from the big networks. Yeah. So yeah, it's an interesting world to live in right now, darling.
Yeah, dude. We'll see how it turns out. And I mean, I don't know. You said you're trying to do a podcast. Like, what do you want to talk about on yours?
Food memory.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh snap! Hold on, I gotta grab this. Don't forget the cheat
You're
sheet.
like, let's make sure we get ready.
But yeah, dude, you can learn all this technical stuff on YouTube, and it's really, once you learn it, it's kind of like learning a language. It just kind of like flows. It's really not as technical as people think. It's not as expensive as people think. You have your little audio hardware device that's to record the audio, and you have the camera. Camera's expensive, with that stuff, but it's like sort of like my creative process that I have found comfort in, something that I want to pursue. Yeah. And I was like super into photography when I started working in restaurants, and I started doing like social media for bars, taking photos, making videos and stuff like that. And I was just like, my like hunger to keep creating and growing within that realm, it just like keeps going. Yeah. And so like I went from taking photos of bars to making videos and music videos for bars that I used to do back in New York City and New Jersey, to now talking to industry people about how we grow professionally, mentally, physically, and creatively. So that's why I asked you to come on today, and I really appreciate you coming. So thank you.
Of course, you're welcome.
So you are the 2015 first and only Latino winner of MasterChef. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And from what I've sort of read about your life before that, you were a social worker. You grew up in San Diego, single mother, and you had this opportunity to go on TV and sort of take a shot at like with 100 people to try your luck, and you won. And it's sort of like, seems like that's changed your life ever since.
I'd say.
And so like, there's so many things we could talk about today. We could talk about MasterChef. We could talk about your life growing up. But I guess, here we are today. It's the Wednesday after the Super Bowl. And that seems to be like the big conversation that everybody's talking about today. Did you watch the Super Bowl?
I did. I mean, I watched the halftime show.
Yeah. There's two groups of people. There's the football guys like me, and there's the halftime Super Bowl people.
Yeah. I mean, listen, like I love football. I used to actually really be into football back when I was married and back when I was, I had time. But now I don't have the time. And it's not even a matter of have the time to watch a game, but I don't, Chargers left. I was like a diehard Chargers fan. I felt super heartbroken after that. And then I couldn't find a team. Like my backup team was the Jets, of all the most random.
Bro,
exactly.
That's tough.
Exactly.
That's tough.
Exactly. So, I never found anywhere to land after that. And it's never turned into a thing again. So So now I just stay committed to halftime shows.
Shows. There are those. It's two groups of people. No, you're absolutely right. I thought it was cool. So Bad Bunny is. I've never been into the halftime shows. I've always just been like football. Don't care. Football. When I was growing up, we'd go at halftime. All of our group of friends, we'd run outside in the snow. We'd do a little like football game with our friends.
Yeah.
But like Bad Bunny was one of my favorite artists over the last years.
Really?
Oh yeah. So
I wouldn't have pegged you as a Bad Bunny fan.
So I grew actually. So I started bartending in New York City, and
Okay.
I worked at these like sports bar and nightclubs. And it was a lot of like like Hispanic music, dance music club and stuff like that. So like I kind of like in my professional life have been like that's just like imprinted into my brain.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm gonna watch this halftime show. I have to go into work for the second half. I'm gonna be late. I don't care. And I thought it was really cool. I thought that he like the creativity that he brought to the show was. I had to like Google some stuff. I was like, what are all these like things that he's talking about here? And
Yeah.
I liked it. It's everybody's in the news. Are you for it? Are you against this stuff today? But I thought it was cool. And I think that like, the culture, I think representing your culture and showing your culture, whatever that may be, is like important to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I thought he nailed that. And I thought he did a really good job of like unity and bringing everybody together and promoting positive and optimism and things like that. So I thought it was cool.
Yeah. I just wrote a Substack about it yesterday and got pretty good feedback about it because I kind of, my finishing line for the Substack was, joy is on the menu. Because I think like that was really what it came down to. I think there was so much controversy around what this was going to look like, whether it was in Spanish, whether it wasn't. And so much of what happened with, Lady Gaga coming out and actually singing in English, but with the Spanish, with the merengue salsa background music, just lots of, to your point, a lot of symbolism, a lot of creativity shown. But I think at its core, what it came down to was bringing people joy.
Yeah.
And I think that to your point, culture is one of those things that can permeate lots of different areas of how we are creative. And I think he chose art, he chose music, he chose dance, he chose all of these different types of creativity to be able to kind of spread this message of unity and hope and joy, which I think was really timely because I think there is a lot of this real big heaviness feeling. I mean, this past month, I've been struggling with my mental health just around everything that's been happening in the US. And so, as a child of immigrants, it's hard, man. It's been a hard last couple of weeks. And so I think with that Super Bowl at its core, what it brought for me was joy and the reminder that joy can also be a form of resistance.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've been kind of looking through your Instagram a little bit and you're doing a lot of writing. And I feel like you're kind of, what I see is pushing into your creativity.
Yeah.
And you obviously grew up with your creativity in the, cooking food and then with what you were doing on the TV shows. But what about you is saying, I want to start writing and I want to do more author, and like, where does that come from?
Well, I think it starts from, I was a big reader. I was, I for some reason, like I'm gonna just expose myself. I'm like a super big nerd. Like a lot of people think like, she's like, she's like this fiery, feisty Latina. And don't get me wrong, I'm obviously some of those things sometimes. But like honestly, like I'm such a nerd. Like I grew up loving words. I was the weirdo that like literally studied the dictionary because I wanted to make sure that my vernacular and the words and all of the different, the way that I spoke was better positioned so that I was a better American in a lot of ways, I was because especially in the US, right? We're always seen as like, if you have a what is it called? An accent or whatever. Like, so I wanted to find out ways that like, how can I say angry in multiple ways or annoyed in different ways, and so that ended up compounding into me being a total nerd at school. I was like part of the speech and debate team. I got a couple of scholarships for speeches that I won, for like all of these different things from like the Lions Club to like, all of these smaller organizations, little $500 awards here and there. But wow. It was definitely my thing. I wanted to I was a little girl that at when I was at my youngest, 6 years old, I was like, I'm going to be the first Mexican president of the United States. Like, that's who I want. Like, that's what I wanted to do. And, I did my research back then, and it was like, all of them have been lawyers. So I need to know how to speak. I need to know how to argue. And that was like really where my head was at.
Are you still going for that?
No. No, the politics are for sure out of my realm of understanding right now. There's no way.
I think we can be impactful to our communities and to people without also getting into politics today. Just like with the reach that social media has, and
absolutely,
with creativity and film and music and the way you can like reach out to somebody. So it's funny you said that you grew up with that understanding of language and trying to pursue that. I was the opposite. I grew up super mathematically, like goal driven. I failed every English class I ever took.
Really?
And somehow here I ended up trying to pursue a career in language based. And I think it's just like, I think my lack of understanding and knowledge for that is pushing me to try to like go through that in a way, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Like, I'm the opposite way. I don't have the words to fully express myself. I started reading, Webster's Word of the Day, and in my adult life, I'm realizing the importance of like expression and things, because I don't think I grew up fully being like having that mental ability to express.
Yeah.
I was like a mathlete.
How funny. I mean, you're still a nerd.
Yeah,
Nerds unite.
No, for real. Like, in a way, like, and so what's actually really helped me is like listening to podcasts, listening to audiobooks. Like, that's how I take in information.
Yeah.
And so, I've worked in bars and restaurants on and off through my early 20s, full time for the last like 7-8 years.
Yeah.
And like one of the things I've learned is working in restaurants. I think a lot of people struggle with their mental and professional health.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely.
And like, that's the theme I found. And so I thought I'd start this platform to like try to bring people together and share honest and real ideas about how to grow in life. And, let's just try to figure it out.
Yeah.
And so I heard about you and MasterChef and stuff. And so I don't know, I just wanted to pick your brain today and kind of like, I don't know, see what some advice you may have for some people that are coming up and are trying to figure it out. Because like, to be honest with you, I have over the years, I know I'm going to succeed at this. It's just a matter of when and how and with who. But like a lot of people I think struggle,
Yeah, I mean, my gosh, do people struggle? I think the other day I was in fact listening to a Mel Robbins podcast. I was like driving down. My daughter goes to university up near Yosemite National Forest.
Oh, nice.
She's like 20 minutes outside Yosemite, and so imagine it's like 18-hour drive, like there and back, because I live in Tijuana. And I'm listening to this podcast, and on that specific one, she goes, "You know who's going through something? Everyone."
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, that's so true. Because like, you think about what is going on in the world, what is going on in our independent lives, and add to that and compound to that things like what you're saying right now, going after your dreams, maybe changing dreams, especially after COVID. How many of us didn't look at our lives and go, is this really what I want to be doing? Because so many of us almost saw our lives flash before us and think like, man, like this is, we finally also had that time out, that time to like sit there with ourselves and all that silence. And, we live in a world that is constantly feeding us dopamine, right? Constantly, whether it's social media, whether it's, we have like these, everyone talks about kind of this feeling of constantly needing input. But when you slow down, and that's exactly what happened during COVID, right? So many of us had to slow down and really face the noise in our own heads and say, have our own, like, if you will, for sake of a better word, like for lack of a better word, better yet, come to Jesus moment of like, what am I doing with my life? And, you asked me like, what would I give as advice to people? It would be, I think we have to quiet down the noise around us, whether that's your phone, whether that's the people around you, whether that's work, whether like how many of us wake up with our phone right next to us, and the first thing we do is start scrolling.
Everybody, I mean, me.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody, right? I don't know if you've been seeing these monks that have been kind of making their way through all of the U.S.
No.
Okay. They've just literally been walking. And yesterday they did a big speech, and they specifically talked about this. And he said, like, quiet the noise. Yeah. And I heard that message again today. And I thought to myself, you know what? That's exactly what I'm proud to say I've been doing. I have really treasured my slow mornings, having gone through a full 10 years post winning MasterChef, and being like, go, 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 go. It was like, it felt like a 10-year marathon.
Yeah.
You know? And I think in the past like year, I've really had to slow down. Not one, it's been maybe 2 years now, that I've really had to slow down because my daughter went away to college. I moved south of the border. I didn't have my regular friends. I didn't have my mom down the street. And so all of a silence, there was kind of this vacuous space of just like nothing but my thoughts, nothing but all of the negative, all of facing all of my truths, facing all of the thoughts of imposter syndrome, facing all of the thoughts of have I done enough? Am I making a difference? Does anybody care? Does anybody care if I'm here? And you start to go down these slippery slopes. But I also think that through that silence, you're able to work through some of the things that we kind of keep putting off that build into this crescendo of this bubble that suddenly sometimes pops for people. And then we go into anxiety attacks, panic attacks, depression, really heavy drinking, and lots of other things, substance abuse that really ends up really hurting a lot of us, especially in this industry where we're kind of always on this go, 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 go. And I won't even talk about energy. I mean, you do this all the time. I've talked to one of my friends who's a bartender, and I'm like, you guys sit there and like listen to people, and you're just constantly taking all of this energy, bad energy, good energy, bad energy, good energy. And then you come home and then you're like, you can't even fall asleep.
Yeah. It's like I think it's a catch-22, and that's what I found a lot of, even people who work in the back of house, who are cooks and chefs and like all those things. It's that constant pace. And I think, look, we sign up for this. This is our jobs. You can make good money doing it, but I think that it's important for us to take care of ourselves on the back end too. Yeah. And not just be a total slave to our jobs sometimes. And I think what you're just talking about, being alone in silence with your thoughts, it can be very good and bad.
Yes.
I think that we do need time for ourselves. On my off days, that's why I moved to Southern California from living in New Jersey, so I can go to the beach and spend time outdoors with my dogs, because that's what I value. But I think community is also really important.
Yes.
And I think you can have community with sharing meals and food with people at a restaurant or at the neighborhood pub, or you can have. There's so many different ways, a sports league and things like that, but it's just like, I don't know, it's balance. Sometimes I just want to turn my brain off and not talk to anybody. When you're in relationships, when you're a parent, you got to come home after spending all 8 to 13 hours at your job, and to keep that going, it's challenging for some people.
Yeah.
And the phones don't help, but I think that like letting things out, whether it's to a bartender or a therapist or a friend or somebody, and having those honest conversations is very healthy for us.
Oh, totally.
And I think writing and like, I saw you were writing some there's poetry or something on your Instagram. Like, do you have a goal with that? Is that something you want to pursue professionally as a creative? Like, what are your thoughts with that? I know you have a cookbook out.
Yeah. So yeah, I mentioned my love for books. I've always been a big reader. I think I own over 500 books in my house right now. Wow. Books are always a way of escapism for me. They've been a way of really trying to understand myself, trying to learn a little bit about different things, whether that's how to be a better professional, how to be a better parent, how to be a better friend, better daughter, how to deal with trauma, all the things. But I think that for this year, my resolution, my New Year's resolution is storytelling. And I think that one of the things that I found across this silence that I've given myself and allowed myself across the last 2 years was really identifying, because when you're out of work and you're by yourself in a different country and you don't have your same community and support system, and you have that space to think, you are suddenly like, facing the truths of like, what do you actually want to do with your life? And for me, when I really took stock of everything that I've done in my life and everything that has brought me genuine purpose and gratitude and opportunities to really feel like I am making a difference in the world, which I think is ultimately my goal, it's always been a form of storytelling. And that's one of the big realizations that I had, if you will, epiphanies that I had in 2025, of just realizing that you can tell stories through podcasts, through a meal, through art, through photography. Like every single creative outlet that we have is a way of telling a story. And I think that right now, what we've lost touch with through this, kind of fast fascination with social media is living life through the spectation of everyone else. So you're a spectator of everyone's life instead of living your life.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that through that, we've lost a little bit of touch with our own humanity, not just for ourselves, but with other people. We view people through this kind of artificial lens of what is naturally curated on social media. And for me, one of the things that I wanted to bring it back to was how can we still tell stories that humanize people and that remind people that we are, these complex creatures that are going through things. A lot of the time, we are watching these people on social media post, their perfect life in their perfect house with their perfect new shoes and their unboxing of their whatever and their perfect skin with these filters that don't exist. And one of the things that I started noticing post MasterChef, and in that kind of vacuous space was that I was living a very superficial life. And not in the sense that like I was superficial materialistically. I was superficial in the sense that I wasn't connecting with people. I got into this space where I was hurt by a lot of people in my life, people who I trusted and who took advantage of my trust and said things about me. And so then I became more guarded and I started letting less and less people in. And so that ended up putting me in this weird space because of therapy. Now I know it. I had essentially a disassociation between who I am as a person, Claudia Sandoval, versus Chef Claudia Sandoval.
Interesting. Yeah. Do they like blend too much? Like what was that like?
I essentially stopped being myself. I was only Chef Claudia Sandoval around everyone. So I was that constant happy person, always smiling, always happy. And when someone, my perfect example is whenever someone would come up to me and say like, "Hey, how are you doing?" My initial response would always be like, "Great, how are you?"
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And my retort back now is, "Really? You're great?"
Yeah, because when we're at work, it's like, and that's how I feel as a bartender too. And so like almost every relationship I've made since moving out here has been customers or coworkers through the bar. And so they know my professional side.
Right.
And although I work at Stout Public House, it's an Irish bar downtown neighborhood. We know everybody. It's a great job. I think that people, like I hang out with these people outside and they talk to me as if I'm their bartender. And I'm just like, it's this weird thing that happens with my brain where I'm like, no, dude, I want to fucking let some shit out.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I have to, it's weird. And like, look, I'm 34. And when you're 34 years old, the Southern California neighborhood bar, and then that scene, there's a lot of like drama. People are dating people's exes. There's egos. There's all these things. And I do have to remember, it's unfortunate. Like I'm kind of have that professionalism when I go out.
Yeah.
And it's tough because like, I don't think many people know the real me. And that's like my fault. I don't blame other people, but like, I don't know. It's this weird thing that happens with our heads.
Yeah.
And I think that like we got to develop ways to figure that out and let that out somehow, whether it's through exercise or conversations or like, yeah, but I know what you're talking about when they blend together like that. When somebody asks you, how are you doing at work? I was like, yo, dude, I'm just like, I'm hungover. I was on a bender. I got some problems, and they look at you like,
right.
You gotta like,
those aren't real friends, right? And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in the sense of like these people are acquaintances, and I think that's also a good realization. But I think what really helped me was, to your point, we all wear masks, right? You wear a different mask with your parents than you do at work, than you do with your best friend, than you do with your with like your significant other, right? We do. It is a normal part of humanity. The problem is when you don't take off the mask. Yep. And for me, that mask was Chef Claudia Sandoval. It was like the little bobblehead with the red hair. So hence, what had to go? The red hair had to go. Like I started making a lot of changes to try to almost disassociate myself from that personality. And I think the biggest step toward that was also encouraging myself and encouraging others and giving people the space to be vulnerable. So asking honest questions instead of, these kind of superficial, now I say I fucking hate small talk.
Yeah, me too.
Shut the fuck up with the small talk. I don't want to talk small talk. How are you actually doing? Are you good? Yesterday was a good day. Today is a bad day. I hate the rain. I hate, today it's cloudy outside. This kind of weather makes me depressed. I could never live in Portland,
Yeah.
Like those types of real conversations. If we're going to talk about the weather, let's talk about how the weather makes you feel versus, I was late with traffic because
I think we're moving into this time where with media too, we can have honest, real dialogue with people. And that's what's cool about this podcast space is like the ability to do that. And,
yes.
What do you, so what is there, you want to talk about food in your podcast? Is there a certain what are can you just kind of, I don't know, talk about that a little bit? Like your thoughts with, I don't know, if you don't want to release it yet, maybe we don't have to.
When is this going live?
Probably like 2 weeks or something, but,
I can't give it all away, but
no
it
worries.
is but it is a podcast that is going to be focused about, it's going to be really talking about food memory and tapping into people's food memory. I think, like I mentioned, I think when you are able to connect with people on a much deeper level, rather than just like, hey, tell me about your job. Tell me about, what you're doing now. Tell me about what you've been struggling with. Even that, it doesn't lend itself to kind of reaching people on their real human level at their core. And what does is always memory. And fortunately for me in the chef world, right? Food is always a really great, nostalgic, pathway into tapping into some of those really core memories of what's important to you truly and what you value. I always say this because a lot of people will sit here and criticize celebrity chefs, right? As they call me. Celebrity chefs, they just went on TV, they won a show, and they're just, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, sure, let's go ahead and just minimize it to that level. However, I also have been in a place where I have met my idols. I have met Dominique Crenn, a 3 Michelin starred female French chef that lives in California. And as I'm crying my eyes out, meeting her, she says to me like, so wait, you won with what kind of food on MasterChef? And I'm like, Mexican. He's like, can you teach me how to make tamales? Think about that. This is a 3 Michelin starred level chef with all of the culinary training and all of these things. And that person turns to me and says, can you teach me how to make tamales?
Yeah.
Like, to me, it's like you can criticize people for not having the training, for not having whatever, but when it comes down to it, technique is technique. Nostalgia is nostalgia. And what it comes back down to for me, right, is something that I minimized oftentimes as something that my grandmother taught me and something that was so tactile and so innate to my culture and so innate to my growing up, has now turned into one of my core memories, because not only did I value it because I knew my grandmother, but also because I had one of my idols asking me to teach her how to make that.
I think we do this thing in the bar community too. We all compare each other. It's like we're all measuring like, there's the mixologists, the dive bartenders, the club bartenders. And it's like, I don't really do that. I look at like, I'm never going to be a mixologist. I'm never going to have that knowledge of spirits. Some of those people that are top of that game can never do what I do, is work at the neighborhood bar and build relationships and manage personalities and rip up and down a busy bar, beer and a shot, deal with the kinds of things that I have to deal with, kicking people out of the bar, right? And so there's so many different levels, and the same goes probably in the back of house with cooking and things like that.
Absolutely.
So it's like I learn from these people, and we are all in this community of hospitality and kitchens and cookings and things like that. So, and there's egos. There absolutely is. There's so much ego in our industry. And with media, I can only imagine that it's like that as well. Would you ever want to open a restaurant? Is that something on your horizon?
This is probably the number one question I have received.
Oh, okay. Sorry. No, we don't have to. No, I don't want to ask you those questions.
No. It's okay. It's okay. I'm prefacing that as this is probably the only. Actually, it's probably the second most asked question outside of, is Gordon Ramsay really that mean? And he is. Just kidding. But I don't even know how to answer that anymore. I
Okay.
think before I used to be like, maybe someday. When I was a little girl, I would always tell my mom and my grandmother that I wanted to open up a restaurant just so that I could share their cooking.
Yeah.
Now I've been able to share their cooking on multiple platforms, in a published book, and through all of the experiences in private dining that I do, right? Because I have multiple businesses. But I think now I'm in this place where like I am trying to figure out what my next step is. And to your point, I'm really leaning heavily into storytelling, into writing, into, a little bit more advocacy and public speaking. And so I don't know if I would have the capacity because I'm still just one person.
Yeah.
And while
it takes a team.
Absolutely. It absolutely takes a team. But anybody who's ever opened up a restaurant or any business for that matter can tell you it is going to take several months of only that, right?
Oh my gosh, it's so different than people think.
Yeah, people have no idea.
I've never opened a restaurant. I'm a bartender, but I've worked for places that I've been the bartender at place open. I've got to know. I work next to my owner side to side, and I listen to these guys. It's so much that goes into it that people don't see. The stress, the low margins, things break every day, the chaos, people stealing, people getting, it's like, and you have to be there in order to, it's so, and the margins are so thin.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
what a lot of people don't know is that I have a creative consulting company that specifically is around culinary services. So I've opened multiple restaurants.
Okay.
They just haven't had my name. They haven't had my name on the menu. So I've done a lot of this work.
Yeah.
I just haven't had my name on it because I just don't. I don't.
Well, look.
I don't know. I don't think so.
That's
I don't
cool.
think so.
And I think we can give back.
But I
to
always
this.
say never say never.
Yeah, I mean, hey, there's business opportunity. Like, I'll
Never
take
say
that,
never. Yeah.
But I think the honest truth is we can give back in so many different ways in this industry. And with the creativity is like what I'm trying to pursue.
Yeah.
Is this like space where like people in this industry can come together, promote their brands, their product, their wisdom, connect with other people. That's valued so much.
Yeah.
And you got to get creative in the way you grow in business. And maybe, opening a restaurant right now isn't on your cards. Maybe in 5-10 years that changes.
Right.
I don't know what your daughter's studying in school. Maybe she wants to get into the culinary and start a small business restaurant someday, and you help out with that.
Right.
And it's like, it's like at the end of the day, we do what we love, right? Like working, connecting with people, making food, providing a hospitality service for people. And then there's also the business aspect.
Right.
And like, those are two different things.
Yes.
And you gotta I want to find a way to build a career in something that I love and enjoy, and that helps other people as well.
Right.
And that's why I think that's cool that you're pursuing the creativity, like, and it's a gamble like everything else. It's like opening up a restaurant, this is like, my goal with this is to grow this somehow into like a product and like on a bigger scale. And it's like such a small percentage of these podcasts actually make it.
Right.
But hey, I'm shooting my shot.
I love it.
Gotta
I love
shoot
it.
your shot.
It's like, what do they say? Like, you will miss out on 100% of the opportunities you don't take.
And I think that like, so I've, me trying to build this thing, it's like entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
You taking a shot going on MasterChef, it was like 100 people or so.
Yep.
And it's like,
thousands if we talk about how many auditioned, but yes.
Yeah. Just to like get in the door to compete. It's like so many people. And it's the same way. And if I think people knew how much rejection I've dealt with this process, it's like most people don't even try that many times.
Correct.
Let alone succeed.
Exactly.
And that's like with anything, any business you're trying to start, whether it's a restaurant or bar or a podcast or a musician and stuff. It's like, if you work on these things every day, that's when you have a shot.
Yeah.
And then in like 2 or 3 or 4 years, maybe those things will pay off.
Yeah.
I
agree.
And I think that like athletes go through similar, in order to be a successful athlete, if you're trying to get in shape, if you're trying to take care of yourself, live a healthier lifestyle, it's so much failure. It's like the ability to get over that failure and to grow from that, from like a mental aspect, is what makes people successful.
Yeah. Yeah. I just read a book by one of my favorite authors, Brad Stulberg. And it's like all about the pursuit of excellence, right? And he specifically has worked with lots of Olympians and a lot of like super, super high level, athletes and just great minds in the world, right? But one of the things that he specifically talks about is consistency. Is that consistency in doing the same thing almost over and over again. I mean, look at everyone always says the Japanese are the best at everything, right? It's because they're so consistent.
Check this out. I'll show you my book. This book's called Gambatte, the Japanese art of always moving forward.
See what I mean?
It's like
constantly. It's consistency. It's consistency. It's getting up every day and doing it over again. And this because you like, especially in like in the bar world, it's like. I guarantee you that like I could make a solid Negroni, but I bet you make a better one.
Well,
because you make it more often than I do, right?
It's a consistency.
It's a consistency thing. Like and the pour is going to be perfect, and like if you measured it out, because that's what you do, right?
Yeah, it feels weird. It almost feels like you have to be like a little bit like crazy psycho to think this thing can work.
I know.
Like in order for me to like there's no shot. People go, there's no shot you're going to turn that into. Do you know how many people are doing this? It's oversaturated market, everything. It's like I have to like psychopathically tell myself, you will find a way, figure it out. And that goes into like waking up every day and going to the gym and eating healthy and things like that. Or,
exactly.
It's like you have to just like keep the consistency. Those 30-day fitness challenges are great. Try doing a 2-year fitness challenge.
That part. Yeah.
That's what I told myself when I started this. I was like, dude, I made a goal. I said, I'm going to get to 21 episodes, and that's where this thing starts. I don't care how long it takes.
Yeah.
It took me a year and a half, and now this whole thing feels different. And it's like, okay, maybe in a year or two from now, let's see how this thing feels. It's
you're like, I'm just getting my groove now.
I'm just getting into this thing. I got my books. You're on the podcast.
Yes.
It's like, so I know, and it's weird. And there's no creativity is weird because like you can measure success with selling a product. How do you measure success with your creative poems?
Well, they're not creative poems. I would call them like creative notes.
Okay. Well, they're like Claudia's
stories.
thoughts.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's like it's like some thoughts. Yeah. I mean, I don't know that I necessarily like. Listen, Substack is very new for me, and I started literally this year. And Substack is a space where you essentially find a bunch of different blogs, but you have everyone from like actors to, professional writers to people who are doing recipes, to people who are doing politics, to people who are just sharing thoughts like I am.
Yeah.
And I think like what it comes down to is it's not about measuring level of success. I think for me, what I've realized, it's how much does this have impact?
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if 10,000 people read it. If I have zero impact, then what am I doing it for? Yeah. For me, that's my guiding, like that's my North Star, right? Like that's my guiding, my guidepost. Like what I want to be doing is only spending my time on things that create impact. If this is just, again, something superficial where, to your point, I'm just going to sell merch or I'm just going to, rack up, 100,000 more followers, that doesn't mean anything to me. To me, that is superficial fluff that was created by man, right? For me, impact is humanity. It's how I'm able to connect with people and make a change in their life. Make a change even if it's just a perspective change, which helps them to make it through that day. Because really that's what it comes down to. Similar to what this podcast is doing, right? And I'm sure you're going to, if you haven't already heard back some of these things, but, people message you and say things like, wow, I really needed to hear that. You know what? Nobody had put it in a way where I felt I have literally been in that place where I haven't been able to get out of bed. I haven't been able to, fall asleep. I've been tossing and turning. I've literally had those feelings. Thank you so much for making me feel seen. And sometimes it's just giving people that visibility, similar to what Bad Bunny did on the it's giving people visibility that sometimes is what makes people feel like I can take a deep breath.
Yeah. Yeah, be heard. And I think that when I asked you that, it was kind of like a rhetorical question. I think the answer is it's not about measuring it. It's like, I think when you put your creativity out there, like that's already a success. That's kind of what I meant by that is
really?
I don't measure this podcast based on the amount of views.
Right.
And I haven't made any money doing these things. And it's like, I do see some of these podcast platforms that have hundreds of thousands of views on YouTube and they're kind of trash.
Agreed.
And it's like, they just have the marketing backing.
Correct.
And like that network.
Correct.
And then there are these local small artists who put out incredible work who like have such small visibility. And I follow, whether it's podcasts or local artists here in OB. And that's what I mean is like, I don't know. I don't look at numbers necessarily always as like status and win. It's like, I look for like, I try to make quality, relatable conversations for people.
Yeah, I mean, the same goes for publishing books and things like that, right? A lot of who ends up making it big on New York Times bestsellers is already chosen before the book even hits the,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it to your point, it's all the marketing background. So like, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. The fact that some of us even get to quote, make it this high and this level, like is really exciting and very fun and awesome. But that's exactly why they should be celebrated, because it's the people that are breaking the ceilings and changing things that are the ones that have really seen success. It's not the people who are prescribed to us by chosen media machines, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what's cool about today's world with social media is the little guy like myself, I have a shot.
Correct.
And I think that like when you make, relatable content, like there's so many different ways reasons why I express. There's a bartender who works downtown and she just walks by with her dog and she'll just be singing out loud to herself.
I love that.
And it's just like, I'm like, you just hear it and you're just like, oh, there she is. That's the daily walk. But it's like, you can create to heal. You can create to express, to inspire change, to connect, to make people laugh. And I never try to like, I try not to take sides in like this divided world we're in today. I try to just listen to people.
Yeah.
And like, because I don't know, I feel like it was funny. I worked behind the bar on Monday night and it was, National Hangover Day. There's nobody at the bar. It's just me and I have
National Hangover Day.
Oh yeah, dude. Monday after the Super Bowl.
That's amazing. I've never heard that before.
Oh yeah, that's like a thing. Yeah. So
amazing.
We close the bar down and it's like I have these two people at the bar. There's one military dude, he's from the South, and I have this younger Filipino woman who does tech sales, who's like 5'1", and the military guy's like freaking twice my size, and we're talking about the product, about the halftime show. Obviously, that's why people come to see me to bitch about politics and to like talk about life. And he's like, oh, Bad Bunny, with all the what's up with that Russian flag at the end there, bro? And I was like, what, Russian flag? What do you mean, bro? There was no Russian flag down there.
Russian flag.
And I'm like, let's watch the video again. And he goes, and it's like, he confused the Russian flag for the Paraguay flag because they're so similar. And it's like, it's just so funny. And then you have the Filipino tech saleswoman and like, we're having like a fun, civil conversation about our differences.
Yeah.
And I think that's like a really important thing I really enjoy doing that, is like having those conversations with people who think differently than me.
Yeah.
And to work through things. I think that's where growth comes from. You know what I mean? And like, I don't like to just have conversations with people where everyone's like, yeah, you're so right. You're great. Like, I want to talk to people who think completely different than I do so I can learn from them and we can educate each other a little bit, Yeah. I think that's really important. I don't see too much of that. I guess more of that is coming today. And that's why like, podcasts are so cool to listen to, because you get to hear people who have totally different thoughts.
Yeah.
So when you do your podcast, is it going to be like are you going to be bringing on different people and things like that? Or...
Definitely bringing on different people. The idea is definitely to bring on people who have, similar to me, have had a level of like status where they're always asked about the same things. And this is a way of bringing back humanity to it.
Am I asking you all the same things today? I hope I'm not doing that. No, I'm just kidding.
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. But yeah, it's really finding a way to kind of do exactly what we're doing here. But yeah, humanizing people in a way where it's, you're not just seen as like this bobblehead that is just on television, or is just this celebrity chef or this celebrity, writer, or this, et cetera, but really kind of bringing back that human aspect. And again, that storytelling, giving people the opportunity to be vulnerable and share things. And to your point, think critically, right? I mean, so often, again, we're not given the opportunity to have some really deep, thoughtful conversations.
Yeah. You ever read this book? Brandon Stanton, Humans of New York? Have you ever seen this?
No, what is it?
So he is like a photographer and an author. And for like, I don't know if it was 5, 10, 15 years, he went around New York City and just interviewed people from all different walks of life.
Really?
And he ran a social media account that I used to follow. And he's one of the inspirations for me doing this podcast platform.
Okay.
And it literally is, I mean, New York City, have you ever been in New York City before?
Yes.
Oh, of course, with the media, of course, probably. But anyways, that's where I learned to bartend in my mid-20s and stuff. And it is just a melting pot of culture and diversity, and from wealth, guys on the subway mixing up homeless, millionaires, billionaires. And so he just goes around and talks to people and listens to them talk about the things they go through in life.
Yep.
And it's just wild to read these people's stories. And some of them are just a paragraph or two. And you kind of learn, it gives you perspective.
Yeah, exactly. And at my core, a lot of people don't know this. I have a degree in philosophy.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Nice.
So asking questions and being very Socratic in a lot of ways, and continuing to deep dive and to critically think about these things from different perspectives and perceptions is really important, right? And I think that, to your point, it's like the exploration of humanity is not something that's new to us, right? It has been studied and extrapolated in multiple different ways for thousands upon thousands of years. However, I think right now we need more of that. So I'm glad that you're doing this. I'm glad that I'm going to be doing it as well, because I think that that's really, now the opportunities for deep thought and critical thinking aren't as often. They're more few and far between because we're so focused on the 15-second reel and algorithm of being fed
format,
only, longer format, longer attention span, focusing on a conversation instead of just seeing the highlight reel of things. Life isn't a highlight reel.
Oh man. Okay. You're a philosophy major. I have a question. What do you think about the philosophy? Like, what do you think about a girl I dated? She's a philosophy major. And we used to talk about.
And so the plot thickens.
Like her.
No names will be mentioned in this.
I have great relationships with my exes. I don't mind. Like, I'll bring these girls on here. No, I have good relationships. Anyways, we would talk about the philosophy of death often. And I think like thinking about death is like makes us live in the present so much more, because we're not going to live for, I think like just time's just going to keep going. And I forget that there's like a finite amount of time that we have in life, and to like really value the present moment and the things that we do in the relationships we have. And I forget that. And I just go.
Yeah.
And I just like I forget, like, oh no, you can find meaning in the small moments.
Yes, absolutely.
Do you ever think about like, I don't know, you have a family, like age, time passes. Like, is that something that's on your mind ever?
All the time. In fact, it's so random that you bring this up, because last year I filmed a project for a small, literally like a completely different project that is about past life regression. Have you heard about this before?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So past life regression is this thing where you essentially are put under hypnosis and you explore your past lives.
Okay.
Obviously, I get how hokey that sounds.
Yeah, I mean, well, no,
and listen, I was like the biggest, like, sure, whatever, because for me, hypnosis was always something, I don't know if you're familiar with Mexico, but just south of the border in Tijuana, there would always be this like hypnosis guy that would always come. His like name was like Rado something or something. And anyway, the point is that they would always show these commercials, and these people would be like made to they would put them on stage with this hypnosis guy, and they would be made to make funny jokes and, kiss the person next to them. You get what I mean? Like really weird things under hypnosis. So for me, it was always like this entertainment thing, right? It wasn't like, so I always thought it was fake.
Okay.
So then going into this, I was like, there's no way that this is actually going to work, whatever. I was like in like super quickly, weird. And my whole perspective about life and death has changed since then.
What did you come out of that? Like, what was going on in your head when you're under hypnosis?
Well, first of all, I was like, this just feels like meditation.
Okay.
Right. So I meditate all the time. So I was like, oh, this just feels like a meditation. So I was also afraid, because I was like, I don't want to be not in control of my bodily functions, of everything. Right. Yeah. So I was like, I'm a control freak in a lot of ways. Right. So I was like, I don't want to do this, whatever. And the person that was my guide was just she was so amazing. And just made me feel like very like in control, and was like, hey, listen, whenever you're in your body, you're there. Like, I'm on she literally hypnotized me through my computer. I'm not even joking.
Oh, wow.
Which is even wilder, which was part of the reason I was like, this ain't going to work. But anyway, this project is going to be coming out. It's called Old Souls.
Okay.
It was filmed by a director in LA, and we're currently shopping it. And so I can't tell you too much, but what I do want to tell you is that through that, death became this thing where what you just said, for me, death was always kind of like this thing that was coming regardless of whether I wanted it to or not, because death has been, unfortunately, a part of my life since I was very young. I was exposed, like Mexicans, we expose our kids to death all the time. We celebrate, the other muertos. It's a thing, right? So it's always kind of like clear and present danger, if you will, right? Like it's always there. It's always at the forefront of my mind. But on top of that, my mom's mom, so my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, died when my mom was 7 years old. She was only 40.
Okay.
So for us and my family, we've always thought like, you know what? Like, if you make it past 40, you're good.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Do you get it? So like, for me, turning 40 was like a depressing year. Wow. I was super depressed that year because I was just like, oh my God, I made it past like my grandmother's age. And even then, even post that, like me and my cousins, like we're constantly checking ourselves for cancer and for all these things because we're terrified because we have like almost like this ticking time clock of like, well, you're already past due.
Yeah.
But on top of that, I've had other experiences with other friends who I've lost along the way. Very young. One of my friends was killed when I was 17 years old. She was murdered. And just like really awful things that have happened in my life where I've been exposed to a lot of death. So doing this past life regression was an opportunity to really step back from this shit's coming. It's coming for you.
Yeah.
And is being able to see life from a different perspective. And the way I see life now, this life, is that we are these kind of souls that are in this ether, if you will, that for now you are here. And then when you are not here, you will land in another time, in another realm, in another wherever. I know that sounds really
No, it's not. But you know what's wild to think about? Like we could live so much better lives or so much worse lives.
Correct.
And so.
Correct. Because, and this is awful. Like I've thought about this for like, I don't know, like, and this is, don't judge me, but I've thought about this with like Trump, for example.
Okay.
Like I wonder what life this is for him. You know what I mean?
That's so interesting.
That's so interesting. That's the perspective that this gives you, right?
Wow.
Because suddenly you're like, well, you also almost gain this perspective of like, what got that person to where they are right now? And I say that as somebody who has faced, like I said, a lot of trauma. I'm a victim of sexual abuse. I'm a victim of domestic violence. And I always, now with that perspective, it's so much easier for me to forgive those people and to say, I wonder what got them to that place. What trauma did they have in their life that got them to that place? Moreover, what happened in past lives that could have gotten them there?
Interesting.
And so it does give you a little bit broader of a perspective, at least for me, because again, I was so hyper focused on like, oh, well, you've got a deadline.
Yeah, no, it makes you think.
Yeah.
And that's interesting. You said you forgive you. It's almost like when we go through things, sometimes we gain the ability to forgive, like unlike if we hadn't gone through that. I don't know if that makes sense. Like the level of empathy you gain when you struggle. Yeah. As opposed to just when you go through life, like you would be like, oh, like this is just so normal. Yeah. Makes you, you appreciate things. And that's the same thing with time. Like for me, like, as I get older and I thought I could just race through life but there's like consequences to that.
There is.
And it's like whether you want to have a family or whether you want to start a career, buy a home, or, as the older you get, it's more riskier to do these things. Like I like you start to realize the things that you thought you were going to do, I'm probably never going to go climb that Mount Whitney. Right. And I used to think that was something on my list. And now as my body gets older and the way these things work, I'm like, I don't know if that's in the cards. So it gives you perspective and it makes you appreciate these moments. Yeah. And it's like, what do you do with that knowledge? Yeah. Like, how do you play that card once you realize these finance? And like how I deal with it is just to try to be kind to people and to value people. You know, with my job, I might not be at this job for the rest of my life. You know, bars are closing left and right. You never know. And like these people, you know, people die as they get older. And it's like, you know, so I try to like instead of like waiting and then being like, I wish I could go back. Yep. I try to express these things now in the moment.
Yes.
And it's something that's been really hard for me to do, but I'm like slowly coming out and being able to do that, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, the past lives things, I never even thought about that with like other people. That's crazy to think about. Like, yeah.
I encourage you to look into it. It's a really deep it's a really deep place to go in terms of like this reality. And honestly, even with what I know about from philosophy and perception, and even right now with what's happening, right? And like the allegory of the cave with Plato, right?
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. Can you just talk about that for a second? What is that again?
The allegory of the cave is it's very similar to kind of like the Matrix, if you will, right? In the way that like the allegory of the cave is, imagine this cave that essentially, think of it like let's just think of it like what are those called? Cornucopias. Think of it like a cornucopia, right? Where this side is like flat and there's a wall there, and then it leads out to the outside, yep. Right? Okay, so at the bottom of the cave are people that are sitting and they're looking at a wall. And behind them there is this pyre or this large flame, and there are people that are living their normal lives. So the people that are facing the wall, their reality is what they see.
It's a shadow.
On the shadows, all the shadows that are created on the wall. So think of this as what you're watching on television, on social media, what you see every day. One day, somebody comes up and picks up one of the people and turns them around and shows them, after they're blinded from the light of the pyre, shows them, wait, well, like what I've been seeing is not what is only reflected there. And so they gain this new perspective and they gain this new realization of like, wait a second. So what you're saying was my reality is not actually my reality. It's this. And so Plato's theory, or the allegory of the cave as it's, is that people go through certain illuminations, right? Like they essentially they come to certain realizations that continue to expand their understanding of the world around them, the world that they're living in. Similar to the red pill or the blue pill. Yeah. You think you're living this life, but really you could be plugged into a machine, and now you're unplugged, and now you see that you were actually just plugged into a machine that was feeding you, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of people are having a lot of that realization right now with like everything that's happening in the world of like, wait a second, we're pulling back the curtain and realizing that there are these awful people in the world who are at the tops of all of our governments and politics and blah, blah, blah. And people are coming to all of these realizations. So the allegory of the cave is kind of a little bit about that. It's like when you pull back the curtain and you are suddenly exposed to things that sometimes you don't even want to look at, right? Like the Epstein files, like whatever you want to call them, right? Yeah. And you're like people are realizing that a lot of what, including myself, we chalked up to conspiracy theories are suddenly now all coming true. You're like, well, wait a second. We're just turning around and looking at the fire. Mind you, there's still another part of that where you actually leave the cave. Yeah. Right? And when you actually see that there's a sun that is outside of there. So that is where they say that you completely reach a completely different level of illumination. But I encourage everyone to take a look. And there are different ways of exploring the allegory of the cave and that theory. But it is a really, really good one.
It's not my honest opinion. I've heard that story before, and I'm glad you were able to just like lay it all out. But that's like real. I don't think that's like a theory. There's so many different, and I don't even just mean like with society and politics. I just mean like with like us at a human level. Correct. And as you get older, and then I look back at like 22-year-olds and I'm like, spend 10 years in the industry. And the way I thought I know how you're thinking right now. Yep. And then you go through this industry and you're like, oh man, I remember, looking, and I go back and I think when I was 25 and I used to look at my bosses and this fake little smile they used to give me with dead eyes. And I'm like, why do they do that? And now I'm like, I give that smile back to fucking people sometimes. And it's just real, like the Matrix and everything. And it's just like, you move to Southern California, you start doing mushrooms, you start to think about these things.
You're like, my world is awakened.
For real, it is. And it's like a rabbit hole. And it's like, do you go, how far down the rabbit hole do you go?
Yeah, exactly. It's really interesting. I mean, and listen, everybody has their own path and they will find whatever it is they're supposed to figure out in this life or the next. But in my opinion, like these are, to your point, hindsight is always 20/20, right? The way we even thought about our parents. We don't have to go as far as work. I mean, when you were growing up, right? I always tell everyone, when you were growing up, think about your parents. Like, how did you see them? They were 30, 40 years old. You thought that they had it all together.
Yep.
And now you're 30, you're 40. Do you have it all together? And you're like,
not a chance.
And in the same way, I realize as a mom, to a now 20-year-old, can't believe I have a 20-year-old, as a mom to a 20-year-old, I'm like, I understand now how hard it is to parent an adult.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother world of parenting, and so it is wild. It is wild. So yes, hindsight is always 20/20, but I definitely encourage people to look into the Allegory of the Cave. It's a good one.
Perspective, empathy, and just...
And forgiveness, too.
Forgiveness, I know.
Releasing that stuff. We think we know everything, but we really don't.
I know. It's weird, though, because people will push our buttons, and I'm just like, I don't know. You don't want to be somebody, I don't know. I try to, give understanding to people, but there's also, then you get walked on when you just let everybody take advantage of you and things like that. Maybe I'm going down another rabbit hole, but...
No, I mean, I think that some of that has to do with being an empath, right? Like, where you seem like the type of person like me, where we observe people a lot.
Yeah.
And when we observe people, we're able to kind of try to, better yet, we're able to see all the reasons why they do the things that they do and not taking out the ego, because it's not about us, it's about them. The problem with that is that then we try to understand why they would do that.
Yeah.
And you're like, but why are you so mean when you are such a good person? At your core, you're a good person. I know you have some insecurities, but why are you being mean to this person? Right?
Yeah.
And that's what empaths do, right? People like us, we look and we're able to, whether it's because we just have a really good, maybe you're like me, maybe you're a little intuitive too, where you see people and you're able to connect with people on kind of like this energy level. And you're like, I see that you're a little insecure, but like, you don't have to treat your man like he's mean or
right.
And obviously I'm talking about it from your work perspective, right? Or your employee's perspective, but you're able to see all of their good and some of their bad. And you're like, but you're not really that bad. So like, stop being that bad.
Well, that's like what I do for a living as bartenders. I connect with people. Literally 40 hours a week. I'm connecting with people. And I'm at the kind of place where it's all conversation. It's not about creating this elixir of a cocktail. It's about creating a dialogue.
Yeah.
And so you meet so many different, my horizon of what people can be like through working that, the worst people in the world, the nicest, kindest people in the world. And what I've realized is like when people are fucking rude, I don't let that affect me anymore. As when I was younger, I would be like, this person is making me feel like shit, so I'm going to tell this person to go fuck themselves. But now I'm an adult, and you grow and you mature and you learn about psychology and these things, and you go, that's fine. Like these words don't affect me, like us.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people coming up in this industry, struggle with that. And if somebody doesn't give me a tip or talks down to me, I just go, hey, here you go. And I keep it moving. The ability to move on from things and have that short memory is something in the restaurant industry, I think is really important.
Yeah. It's kind of like the 4 agreements, right? Where they say do not take anything personally.
Yeah. It's hard.
It is very hard, but you know what it is? It's taking out the ego. And that's what you're doing a good job of. We talked about ego a little bit. And the problem with people is that they insert themselves in places where you're not even meant to be there, right? That person's having a bad day, that person's not being nice to you, it probably has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
So when you're able to detach yourself and move the ego back and be like, this isn't about me, this is but they're reflecting whatever is going on in their day on me, I'm good, and to your point, you keep it moving and you just let them have the day that they want to have.
And I think that those moments are the hardest when it's the end of your shift, when you've worked 6 days in a row, and your energy levels are down, and you're just like, oh, and those are the times over the years where I've not had the best self-control. And I have to And that's when it all is encompassing. The more you take care of yourself, the better sleep you get, the exercise, the diet, the expression, all of these things help us in those moments.
Yes.
It's like the 99% of training helps you for that 1%.
That's right.
You know? And I'm always just trying to, and I never want to stop having that mindset.
Yeah.
I might not be this like, you know, this like Navy SEAL type guy in the gym, but like mentally as we get older, we can keep that discipline and keep that mindset. And that's what takes us to the next level.
Absolutely.
You know,
Couldn't agree more.
well, we've been going for about an hour.
Okay.
Is there something that you thought you'd like to touch on today that you'd like to put out to people, or is there anything? I've really enjoyed talking to you. This is just so like, I love the philosophy stuff. It's so interesting having these conversations. How are you feeling?
Good. I'm feeling good. Yeah,
Good.
I'm feeling good. Yeah, I'm feeling good. Today's a good day outside of this ugly weather. Ugh. We had such great weather across the last couple of days, and I'm like, it was 80 on Monday.
Oh, I know.
How are we dealing with rain today? I woke up this morning and I was like, why? I was like, can I cancel?
No.
I thought about it for like 10 seconds.
Oh, I'm so good. No.
No. I mean it like because it's like rain in Tijuana is complicated. No, but I mean I think if I had one last thought, I guess if I had one last thought for everyone, it would just be, I encourage everyone to just be a little more vulnerable with people around them. I think right now we need a little more humanity and connectedness, and I think when we ourselves are vulnerable, we open up other people to allow themselves to be vulnerable, and that opens up great dialogue that, to your point, can sometimes lead to change, that can sometimes lead to different perspectives. But more importantly, it can lead to connection. And I think at our core, what we need right now is more humanity, more connection, and that stems from vulnerability.
Very well said. Yeah, the ability to keep putting yourself out there and to trust in the little things that we do every day, taking that little step out, hey, how are you? Asking somebody honest questions, taking a breath, thinking before you answer, not just giving the I'm doing good, So, well, Claudia, I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me.
me.
Of course.
Or coming on.